So in last session we talked about creating a user, creating a group. Now let's understand the role. Okay, so now I am under the user Bob which created in the last session. So we had assigned administrator access. So let's remove it first. Yeah, and I'll assign a separate permission now. Let me add a permission here. Attach policy. Yeah, I'll attach S3 full access to this user. So this will be like helpful for role demonstration. Okay, so let me add this permission. So now Bob has only Amazon S3 full access. He doesn't have any other access. Okay, so let me go to the role, and now let's create a role. So let's go to the user and let's copy the ARN. That's fine, ARN is not required as such. Yeah, let me go to the role. I went to role, clicked on create role, and now under the custom policy I'll select IAM users and I'll pass the ARN of that user. Okay, so now this custom policy is basically a trust policy, and this will define that which entity can actually assume this role. Okay, so the trust policy, you can set the relationship so that you can control who can assume this role, that and you can avoid who cannot. Fine, so let me add the user here. I'll go to select IAM user, and yeah, so we are doing it for Bob, so we have to select IAM user here, though we can select any other thing as well for different purposes. So let me add the ARN of the Bob. Yeah, let me add the account ID and the username. So I added that, and now I'll click next. Yep. So in permission, I'll attach for demonstration. I'll attach administrator permission, administrator access, and role name I'll pass as admin role. Okay. So we have created a new role now, and this role can be assumed only by Bob. And after assuming the role, the Bob will have the admin access. Okay. So this is just for demonstration. Your use case would be different. So let me sign out from this, and let me log in to console with the user Bob. So last time we created the user, but we never logged in with that user. So when we created the user, we copied the password of user Bob. So now I'll log in. We need to pass the account ID, username, and the password of the Bob which we copied earlier. So let's hit the sign in here. Yeah. Correct. So now I'm connected with the user Bob. You can see the username at the right top corner, and if you go to the IAM now, you will get an error. See, so you're getting access denied error because we have only assigned the S3 full access to this user, and user can only perform operation on the S3 bucket. So let's go to S3. Let's try to create a bucket. We will not create a bucket, we'll just click the create bucket, and yeah, so it is allowing us to create a bucket. There is no need to create a bucket now. So that means we have the permission to create a bucket. We have permission to list the bucket as well, that we can see. So let's go to EC2 as well and see what we can do there. See, you're getting API errors. So all these errors are coming because the user only have one policy attached to the to them, that is S3 full access. So let's switch the role now. So just click on the right top corner, click on switch role. Okay, so yeah, so now you need to pass the account ID. So since we created the role under the same ID, so enter the role name, so admin role, and create switch role. So now we will connect to console with the role, and this role will grant us the administrator access. Okay, so now as you can see on the screen, you are under EC2, but you are not getting an error now, which you were getting earlier. Let's go to IAM. And then again, you're not getting any error because you have the admin access under this role. Okay, so one of the use case could be that you want to access a different account, and you want to have certain access to that account. So in that case, you can create a role under that third party account or different account, and then that role will grant you a limited access, and that you can use to connect to that account and to perform a certain operation. So that is one of the use case that is majorly used for the roles. And apart from user, you can also attach it to services as well. So I went clicked on that screen again, and I selected a switch back option. That means I can switch back to my the original role, and again I'm under the same role which I am under the same permission which I had when I connected to the console first time, which is the S3 full access, and now I'm again getting the same error. Okay, so this is how you can use the role, and you can use it to attach to services as well, right? If you're like for example, you can create a role and you can attach it to, you cannot attach, I mean you can allow EC2 to assume it, and then EC2 can perform actions on different AWS resources. Okay, so that is with the role. Now let's understand the policies. Okay, so when we create a role, we attach a policy to the role, and that policy will decide what actions can be performed by assuming that role. Okay, so as we discussed earlier, that policies can be AWS managed, that is provided by AWS. Again, it is AWS also provide for specific job functions as well, and we can also create our own policies. So if you click on new policy, you can see the list of permissions under that policy. So under this one, you can have account, limited write access, you have full access to billing and cost management actions, you have IAM limited reach. So all these are there. So that was the summary view. Now if you can click on the JSON, you can get this JSON view of the same permission. Okay, so this is about policy. Let's create a test policy. Okay, so click on create policy. Let's use the visuals. You can use a JSON as well. Let's use the visual, it's an easy one. So I'll just for demonstration, I'll select S3 as a service. Yeah, it's little slow. Now I need to select the action, what action will be allowed by this policy. You can also select the deny actions as well, but yeah, let's select the allowed one. It's little slow, let's wait. Yeah, so let me select an action here. I'll select let's say, yeah, list bucket. So that means this policy will allow user or role to list the S3 bucket. For demonstration, I'll select all resources. That means it can list all the buckets. So let me give a name to this policy. I'll say S3 list bucket, S3 list policy, yeah, and then create policy. So the policy is created. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, the policy can be attached to a user, it can be attached to a group, or it can be attached to a role as well. Okay, so so the policy is created. You can search that policy here, S3 list policy, correct? So you can see it, and you can see the type as customer managed, because we created this policy, so we will be managing this policy. Okay, and you can see the permission which is provided by this policy. You can create different versions as well and attach it. So let's go to the user and let's attach this policy to, let's say, Alex. Let's select Alex. This is just for demonstration. Yeah, so you can click on add permission. You can directly add a permission, which is nothing but assigning a policy to the user. Attach policy, select the S3 list policy. Yeah, the policy is attached to this user now. Okay, this is how you can attach it to the policy. So let's click on add permission again, and let's select create inline policy. Okay, so the inline policies are the policies, it is same as the policy which we created under the policy, but this is attached directly to this user. Okay, so whatever policy you will create here will not be available to attach it to different user group or role. Okay, so when you create an inline policy, that gets directly created under the user, and that can only get attached to that user only. I'll show you. Let's create this. Yeah, let's select put object and we'll select all resources just for demonstration. Let's click next. Policy name. Let's create the policy. So the policy is created. We also give a name inline policy. So let's go to the policies section, and if you try to search with the policy name inline policy, you will not find it here. As I mentioned, that policy was directly created under the user and it gets attached to the user directly, and you do not have an option to it is not available under policy, and that cannot be attached to any other user role or group, right? So this is all about policy, about this section. So this is about roles and policies. So we covered in the previous section about user and groups. In this one we talked about roles and policies. So this is some of the key concepts we covered for IAM. We'll cover some more topics from the AWS to continue my series of explaining AWS for everyone. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe and keep follow my channel. Thank you.